Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker is said to have earth-shaking twists and turns, as well as surprises in this movie that'll change the entire saga by director J.J. Abrams. This is Mike Zero. If you guys are new to the channel, do make sure to subscribe to see future Star Wars content. So, one element of Episode 9 that a lot of people are really looking forward to is, of course, exactly how Palpatine is going to be utilized in this movie by J.J. Abrams in the third act of the film, and his interactions with Kylo Ren and Rey in this story. And I think that's one of the big surprising pieces of Episode 9 is that Palpatine is back and will be portrayed by Ian McDiarmid himself, and that's going to be one of the more true elements to Star Wars Episode 9 that's going to really bring us back to the prequel trilogy era. Now, these past couple of weeks or so, we've been learning a whole lot more about this film, and when it all comes down to one of the concept art descriptions, this is where things begin to get very exciting for this movie, with various hints of Palpatine being Anakin's father in Episode 9. Now, specifically, what's really intriguing is that it's described that a description of both Rey and Kylo Ren standing in front of the Dark Acolyte with his ignited red lightsaber, where the spirit of Palpatine is said to reveal itself to both Kylo and Rey. Palpatine's spirit is said to be giving a lecture through the Dark Acolyte's body, where he is talking about the Skywalker lineage. It's described that Palpatine eventually walks up close to Kylo and reveals that it was he who cursed and began the Skywalker family, and was the one responsible to allow Anakin to exist from the start. Palpatine explains to Kylo that it was his great-grandmother that made it all possible, and that is the reason why the Skywalkers are destined for terrible paths. Kylo is described to appear in shock in front of the Acolyte being controlled by Palpatine, and reveals to Kylo that he was also watching over Kylo since his birth, waiting for the right opportunity to use him. Rey is described to be in the background also in awe of what she is hearing and seeing, where it's described that one of the lines of Palpatine talking to Kylo is said to include "Rise Skywalker." So I want to go over a couple of parts about this. Now, we do know that there are more than 3 different meanings for the title of Episode 9, and of course, I believe one of which now is all related to Palpatine telling Kylo Ren, "Rise Skywalker." Now, the other piece that I do want to go over that really does intrigue me the most is how it was Palpatine who apparently cursed the Skywalker family and allowed Anakin to exist through Kylo Ren's great-grandmother, hence being, of course, Shmi Skywalker. Now, this connects to the comic that we went over just a couple of months ago, the Darth Vader comic, the final issue, mind you, in 2018, where we do see Palpatine initiating the birth of Anakin Skywalker through Shmi, and it's a very interesting illustration, and it really does throw in a lot of hints of course, Palpatine being Anakin Skywalker's father, and through the dialogue and through the sequences that are planned for Episode 9, you can see how this is a big hint and/or indicator that Palpatine is indeed Anakin's father all along. Now, this was also another thing from the original script of Return of the Jedi, you guys may or may not recall, but originally George Lucas had a scene planned where Palpatine would reveal to Anakin Skywalker inside of his office that it was he who allowed Anakin to be born, and hence, in a way, you can call myself your father. So that was basically the original idea by George Lucas to create a parallel of what happened in of course, Empire Strikes Back between both Darth Vader and Luke, where he would create something very similar between both Palpatine and Anakin. So what's really intriguing about this is that this also lines directly up with how Richard E. Grant said during the Radio Times that there is going to be earth-shaking twists and turns in this movie that will have various saga-wide implications for many of the legacy characters that a lot of fans are used to seeing in the prequels and the originals. And I don't know about you guys, but I think that this could yet be another way of really giving a great meaning to the title of The Rise of Skywalker. Palpatine being the father of Anakin, hence, of course, being the rise of the Skywalker family. And that, to me, I think really stands out a lot. So, one thing about J.J. Abrams that we do know is that he's really trying to do a lot of crazy and wild things with this movie that's going to leave fans talking and discussing this movie for years on end, until the new Star Wars trilogy hits theaters by the creators of Game of Thrones, David Benioff and D.B. Weiss. Now, the thing about Episode 9 When you think about it this way, it really is the culmination of the Skywalker saga. It's a very important film, not just for Disney and Lucasfilm, but also for the Star Wars community. You know, they really have to get this movie right and correct after The Last Jedi and the backlash it received. Because if this movie fails, you know, it really is unclear as to where the future of the Star Wars franchise really stands. So this whole entire sequence involving, you know, Palpatine and, of course, involving, you know, Anakin Skywalker and all these different revelations between himself and Kylo Ren hearing the news, as well as Rey. All of these different elements to me are pretty outstanding and fascinating that could really expand the current canon material. And it really does leave open the possibility for more stories to be told in between the events of the prequels and the originals and even the sequels themselves. Anyways, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know what you think about all of this in the comments. And if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.
From night to moon, we hear them moans again.